Welcome to the West Ham Voice. Thank you for joining me. I've been away for a few days with a couple of friends, and in those 4 days that I've been away, part one of the summer transfer window has opened. Our fan base has already imploded because we aren't able to, or weren't able to, beat Brentford to the signing of Kevin Kelleher from Liverpool. And we've been linked to yet again another half dozen or so new names to the ones that I already spoke about in the transfer videos I did last week. But first of all, I've got to say a big thank you to Rocco, who we visited in Croatia. Me and Wiggy and Paul Williams visited Rocco last week, and it was a fantastic few days that we spent out there. Thank you, Rocco. Rocco's a Croatian hammer as well. Told us an interesting story about how he became a West Ham fan, and it was fantastic to meet him and fantastic to spend time with him. Rocco, thank you, and to your family for the great hospitality. So let's get on with it. Now, the reason why I've done this video and putting it out on Wednesday evening quite late is because of the latest story that's come up. I was going to pre-record this and put it out on Thursday, but this one has prompted me to put a video out sooner. And that, of course, is the confirmation that Chelsea have made the first move on Mohammed Kudus. Now, they've offered a player plus cash deal for the Ghanaian international. Now, after Chelsea failed to agree on a deal to keep Jadon Sancho on a permanent basis at the club, they've made a swift move for Kudus. They've offered players such as midfielders, Carney Chukwuemeka, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, goalie Robert Sanchez, defenders Tosin Adebayo and Trevor Chalobah. But the news back from West Ham is that they've rejected the offer because they have no interest in any of these players. That's quite interesting. So this approach has certainly cleared up quite a few things. From this moment on, if we see any transfer stories that involve any of those Chelsea players that I've mentioned, then we know that they're definitely not on the shopping list of either Carl McCauley or Graham Potter, or David Sullivan for that matter. Furthermore, this offer means that Chelsea are serious about getting Kudus. And this was their opening gambit, I guess, with the assurance that they're definitely going to come back in for the player with a more serious, probably more serious cash offer. Now, players like Chalobah, Dewsbury-Hall, etc., are valued at what, roughly 20-odd million pounds, give or take. So it'd be interesting to see what value cash offer Chelsea made for Kudus. So I'm guessing that it would have been something like 45, 50 million pounds. And if that's the case, they probably value Kudus at something like 65 to 70 million pounds. And I guess that's the kind of offer I think they'll come back in to make for the player. Now, what's going to be interesting, of course, is that this is what West Ham are kind of hoping for. They're hoping that several clubs will be have an interest in Kudus in order for a possible bidding war to start. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. Now, speaking of player swaps, etc., as I just mentioned, the reason why Chelsea have made an approach for Kudus is because they couldn't agree on a permanent deal for Jadon Sancho. As it stands, Sancho is returning to Man United, but there are suggestions that Man U do not necessarily relish having the player back. Now, the thing is, though, Man U are also rumoured to be interested in Mohammed Kudus, and they might want to use Sancho as part of a swap deal to get the player. Now, whilst I have no doubts that Sancho is an excellent player, I can't help thinking that he kind of comes with a lot of baggage. Now, from my understanding, his move to Chelsea has faltered because the player and the club could not agree on a compromise on his salary demands. Now, it's my understanding that Sancho is on something like 250, 300 grand a week, and Chelsea clearly do not want to play that kind of money. So if mega rich Chelsea cannot agree a compromise deal on his wages, how do we think that West Ham are going to fare? I doubt it very much that we're going to match anywhere near the kind of salary he's currently on. In fairness to Man U, Sancho had a problem more with ex-manager Erik ten Hag. And it may well be the case that Ruben Amorim might be able to get the best out of this 25-year-old right-footed left winger. It was Ten Hag who sanctioned the 2 loan spells of Sancho, first to his old club, Borussia Dortmund, for half a season, and then last season to Chelsea. And on the whole, Sancho's loan spells have been pretty decent. 3 goals and 3 assists for Dortmund in that half season, and 5 goals with 10 assists for Chelsea last season that ended, which include with Sancho scoring in the Europa Conference League final. He's got a year left on his Man United contract, and they are left with a bit of a conundrum. Keep him for the final season and try to get the best out of him, but then see him wind down his contract and walk away for nothing, or try to find a club to actually buy him where he could be available for as little as £25 million. That's well affordable for West Ham, but it's the wages that certainly would not be. And if Sancho has not been able to agree some kind of compromise deal on his salary with Chelsea, then, like I said, it's highly unlikely that West Ham are going to meet his wage demands of anywhere near £250,000 to £300,000 a week. Or Man U could loan him out for a season and face the possibility of having to heavily subsidise his salary, and again face the prospect of him walking away for nothing at the end of the season. Now, ironically, West Ham, the latter, would be the best deal. Get him on loan, have his salary subsidised, but that certainly would not be a financial gain for Man United, not in the slightest. So in all honesty, I've got to be honest, as much as Sancho could be good for West Ham, I doubt very much we could do any deal for him coming to the club with Mohammed Kudus going to Man United. So that kind of at this moment in time leaves the path clear for Chelsea unless another team come in for Kudus with an offer. So if we are to sell Kudus, and it looks very likely that we now are going to, who are we going to get with the money that we make? Well, the first player on the that's been mentioned, it's a bit of a left field one for me, to be honest with you, is Bournemouth's winger Marcus Tavernier. Now, the 26-year-old joined Bournemouth in 2022 for a fee of something like £9 million. He's made 90 appearances for the club over the last couple of seasons, scored 12 goals with 14 assists. Look, in my eyes, unless I'm missing something, that's not a great return, and certainly not doesn't smack of a Kudus upgrade. But then I've always said that we should have players in the team who are team players and contribute towards the greater good of the team. So if Tavernier is an all-round better player, then maybe he would be a good replacement for Kudus. At £25 million, he may well be a bargain, given that he's got 2 years' experience in the Premier League under his belt. And if you compare Tavernier's stats to Kudus for last season, he certainly produced more assists, created more chances, won more tackles, and made more forward passes than the Ghanaian. But he has also bettered the likes of far more high-profile players for forward passes in the Premier League last season. But I maintain, last season for me was a Kudus blip. I cannot see him having another bad season like that again, despite where he ends up playing next season. And if Chelsea do get him, well, he'll turn it on, won't he? Right, what about some other news? Well, Jean-Claude Tadibbo, no sooner as the ink dried on his permanent deal with West Ham, he's already being linked to several clubs in England and in Europe. So let's let's try and clear up the confusion first as to exactly what we paid for the player to make the move permanent. Now, according to The Athletic, the deal is £32.8 million, which is around 39 million euros. Now, I'm not sure whether we paid a loan fee for him, but I kind of remember that it might have been something like £5 million. Now, what I don't know is whether that £32.8 million deal includes the £5 million or if it's in addition to. If it's in addition to, then his overall deal is much closer to 38 million than it is nearer to 33 million. It's a 5-year deal for Tadibbo, which will keep him at West Ham till 2030. However, it's been suggested that we're already looking to cash in on the player, with Man United again and Newcastle looking to potentially make a bid for him. With West Ham's situation on centre-backs, I've got to be honest, I doubt very much we will want to cash in on the player just yet. But if we do, what's he worth? Well, I think if we really are going to cash in on him, then we've got to be asking for something like 45 to 50 million pounds to make it worth our while. Now, according to some reports, we're already looking at that, having found his replacement, which is Liverpool's Joe Gomez, who's rumoured to be available for about 25 million pounds. So if West Ham were to sell Tadibbo for more than their purchase price, let's say for argument's sake, 45 million pounds, then West Ham would recoup the money paid for Tadibbo, and then they'll spend another 25 million on buying Gomez. But in all honesty, we've been linked to Gomez before. So I don't know, to be quite honest with you, if he really is on our shopping list. Gomez, 28 years of age. West Ham have already said, or certainly Potter has already said, he wants to lower the average age down. So are we really going to sell a player that's 24, 25 and go for a 28-year-old? I don't know. Next up is, of course, Aaron Ramsdale. The rumours linking us to ex-Arsenal keeper Ramsdale are persisting, and apparently we've already opened talks with the player for a £20 million move to West Ham. Now, he's reported to be on a salary of something like £100,000 a week, and it's suggested West Ham are going to be reluctant to meet that figure. Now, there was a suggestion last week that West Ham might make a bid to sign the 27-year-old keeper on a season-long loan rather than a permanent deal. But with Southampton having been relegated to the Championship, they're highly unlikely to want to do that because they would regard that £20 million as crucial to invest in the squad in order to try and get them promoted back into the Premier League at first attempt. Look, there's no denying that Ramsdale had excellent time at Sheffield United, which prompted Mikel Arteta to part with £25 million for his services when he went to Arsenal. But after 2 seasons there, Arteta then invested in David Raya, who soon became Arsenal's number 1. Many fans are against the purchase of Ramsdale, suggesting that he's no better than Areola. So it's going to be one of these interesting things to see if this materialises. Potter apparently has got other plans, but these stories, we haven't heard anything confirmed from West Ham or Southampton themselves. But another keeper on the cards is Robert Sanchez, I've already mentioned. Now, interestingly, there are 2 goalies linked to West Ham, Robert Sanchez and Đorđe Petrovic. So we've already heard that Sanchez is not on our shopping list. Would Petrovic be? Now, the reason why Petrovic is linked is because the rumours are abound that we were likely to get the goalie coach from Chelsea. But now that's been debunked as well, Ben Roberts. And apparently now we're approaching Brighton for Jack Stern, or maybe even David Martin as being our goalie coach at the club. So I don't know. That's all a bit weird. It's all a bit, all these rumours going on. Now, it seems that Chelsea might part ways with a keeper because they're interested in AC Milan and French number 1 keeper Mike Maignan. So if we're not interested in Sanchez, might we be interested in Đorđe Petrovic? Let's see what happens there. Right, what else? Well, with Saint Etienne having been relegated out of League One in France, reports came out earlier this week that West Ham were leading the race and are already in negotiations to sign their 20-year-old Belgian under-21 striker, Lucas Stesen. Now, the young striker has had a very decent season despite the club, Saint Etienne, being relegated. 14 goals, 8 assists is a very good return playing in a poor club. Apparently, he'll be available for a mere £8 million. However, no sooner did a report appear that we're leading the race to sign the striker than this has been squashed by an insider suggesting that there's no truth in the rumour whatsoever. Don't you just love social media? And finally, for now, we're apparently interested again in Alexander Mitrovic. Remember him? Well, after our so-called attempts to sign him from Fulham several years ago, stories are knocking around again that we're back in for him. But Mitrovic, who's now 30 years of age, he'll be turning 31 in September, moved to Al Hilal back in 2023 for a fee of £50 million, and he's reported to be earning something like £405,000 a week tax-free. What a life, eh? He's got a year left on his contract at Al Hilal, and it's fairly evident that his agents are now trotting out the rumours that several clubs are interested in signing him, and West Ham are one of them, of course. Look, even if we were to sign him, he'd be even if we were to sign him on a highest earner wage of around 150 grand a week at West Ham, which is our ceiling, that would result in him losing £250 a week in loss of income. Plus, given that he'll be paying tax over here, whereas he wasn't paying tax over in Saudi. So that is one reason for the story to be nonsense. And the other reason, of course, is, as I've already mentioned about age, it doesn't fit in with the model that Potter has talked about, bringing the squad age down. Right. What about some other rumours that I mentioned last week? Rafael Onyedika is the one top of the list at this moment in time. There's not been any updates since I talked about him last week, but apparently he's very much high on the list of West Ham targets. So let's see if that comes out. Now, of course, if Kudus is sold, I think we'll be well in for Onyedika straight away. Daniel Cummins, I've already said he's going to be signing in July, so there's no need to update you anywhere on that. Evan Gassand, no update at all ever since we talked about him last week. But again, of course, if the Kudus money comes in, we're in for someone like Gassand as well. Matthias Quistgarden, I kind of said last week, I thought this was a bit of a left field move, and I don't think I'm going to change my mind on that. The very same for Richard Coney, very odd link by the ITKs on that one as well. And Jacob Ramsey, well, that's an interesting one. No update again, but it's another player that apparently we were linked to last week. And the same with midfielder Morten Frendrup from Genoa. Apparently, again, no update on him. And Ryan Cherky, no update on him as well. And finally, no update on James McAtee. It's going to be very interesting to see which of these players we might move for if we do agree a deal on Kudus. Look, I've got to be honest. I don't want Kudus to go to another Premier League club. Certainly not a club like Chelsea or Arsenal. Any of them really, because you just know he's going to turn it on and he'll score against us if he does sign for any of them. And he'll show what Kudus is capable of, and some fans are going to say, well, of course he'll be better in a better team. But I don't know, sticks in the throat a little bit. Those are the updates. Thank you for watching and listening. If you're new to this channel, please do hit the like button. Please become a subscriber of the channel. Costs nothing to subscribe. All the content is free. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll be back again probably on Thursday morning now with a completely different show. So do look out for that as well.